grading. Now, when we started collecting, most of us, back before slabs in the 70s, overgrading was a big problem then. And we came together as a hobby and codified the ANA grading standards, to combat abuses. Because an overgraded coin is back then was an overpriced coin, and it took advantage of the one person that bought that overgraded coin. But after slabbing took hold in the mid-'80s, we thought we had contained that problem. But over the past 30 years, more and more coins have been overgraded by the certification companies who we hope were going to protect us. And now, I think more than half, maybe 70% of the coins that are out there are overgraded using the ANA grading standards. This is a huge amount of coins. And we've tried in the past to combat this when it was a small problem. 20 years ago, I started a thing called Eagle Eye Photo Seal, which my specialty is Indian cents. And what I did was I put a sticker on coin. Oh, thank you. I put a sticker on coins that I felt were correctly graded and made a market in those coins. And the problem that I foresaw at the time dealt with my section of the hobby with Indian cents. I was seeing a lot of full red Indian cents being graded red-brown. Oh, I'm sorry, the other way around. A lot of red-brown coins being graded as full red. And they were hurting the market for the properly graded full red coins. And so that's what got me to do the stickering thing. And it turned out to be successful in my little area of the market. CAC, which you all know, a couple of years later copied that and is now doing that for all series. But even that type of grading certification doesn't address the real problem. And that problem is when overgraded coins show up in auction, they sell cheaper. They sell for actually what they should sell for if they were properly graded. So what I have here is, we'll start off with 77 Indian set, AU50. There's 3 different coins. And these are 3 different prices that these coins have sold for, all within, say, a year and a half of each other. One for under $2,200, $3,000, and $4,500, all for the same coin, or the same grade on the holder. One is a CAC, this one's an Eagle Eye Photo Seal, and this one is a NGC without any kind of. So when you see this kind of data, you say, well, what is the real value of that coin? You might say, well, this is a CAC coin, and that's should be worth $3,000. So that might be the market for an AU50. Okay, this coin here sold for $4,500. I sold that coin. I priced that coin. I would have paid $4,000 for it any day. So is the market $4,000, or is it? If you see this, you say, well, one sold for $2,200. I don't want to pay much more than that because, I don't want to overpay. Nobody wants to overpay. But then when we look at the coins, there's a vast difference in the coin. I mean, this is a beautiful coin. I think we'd all love to buy that kind of coin. Some might even say it's better than an AU50. This one here, this is an XF coin. I mean, plain and simple. And this coin here is XF, but has a lot of problems. Okay, so when we see the coins instead of the label, we can understand. Well, yeah, that one is a $2,200 coin. This is a $3,000 coin, and this should be, wow, I'll pay $4,500 for that. So you can see there that the pricing makes sense for the coin, okay? But when you just look at the labels, the pricing doesn't make sense, okay? And the problem is now the pricing editors and people that are trying to make market or use that price for a purchase are seeing all the data that's all over the place. Okay. Now this is not just Indian cents; it happens in large cents, barber quarters, gold. I mean, they say that the for early U.S. coins, Mint State 62 is the old AU 58. And this is getting away from the ANA grading standards. And I think when you have a market that's based on overgraded coins, and you see all these prices for AU 50 here, and they're 3,000 mostly. None of these coins, I checked them, were in my mind properly graded. So a properly graded 1877 AU50 is a hard coin to find, but there's a lot of them out there. When you have a market based on these overgraded coins, it's going to automatically decline. And that's a problem I think we're seeing across the entire spectrum of coins. I think we're seeing it in large cents. I have a couple large cent people here. They have had the EAC grading standards since the 50s, and it's been very strict and very consistent. But they had pricing that went along with their grading, but I think the shift in the past couple of years has gotten away from that. And more people are looking at past auction prices because it's so easy. You just dial it up on your phone and you see, oh, the last one sold for this amount. I'm not going to pay much more than that. Whereas the coin may be much, much nicer than what the last one sold for. And so this has a negative effect on the market. And that's what I'm trying to address here. So what I have is called the PDS Grading System, okay? And it's based on the ANA grading standards, okay, that we codified in the 1970s. It does away with the 70-point grading scale that the certification services use, and it uses a grade qualifier, okay, which I will tell you how that comes about. And there's three factors: planchet, die, and strike. That these factors added together give you your qualifier. Okay, so when we talk about the ANA grading standards, this we all know they translate well to the 70-point grading grading system. We all know a poor 4 and a fine 15, and uncirculated 60, 62 for a typical uncirculated, 63 for average. A choice uncirculated is a Mint State 64 in the ANA grading standard. The gem is a 65, a superb is a 66 or a 67, and a perfect would be a 68, 69 or 70. These are well known, and we all have come to learn how to grade using this verbiage, we all pretty much know how that works. And you can look at it's in books, and it's very easy to understand to learn how to grade that. Now the factors that we use for the qualifier: planchet, die, and strike. Now the planchet part is this deals with what happened to the coin after it was struck. Okay, you have number of marks, you have impairments. The worst being cleaned or heavy marks gets a 0. The 5 is close to perfect. And this is for any grade. If you have a fine coin and it has no marks, just light wear, and no impairments, it might get a 5. If you have a Mint State 60 coin and it's got cleaning, some hairlines, some heavy marks, it might get a 0. You could have a gem uncirculated, okay? But say it's overgraded, okay? It's a overgraded Mint State 65, and you don't think it has too many marks. Well, it would get a low mark for the Planchet, okay? If you have a coin, say a proof coin, and it has a spot, it might get a low mark on this Planchet number. And this is easily calculated in your mind when you look at a coin and you say, this is, for whatever gradage you would expect, is it better than average or worse than average or pretty much average? And this is basically what we do now when we look at a coin that's certified. We say, is this properly graded or is it overgraded? Or is it, an upgrade potential? So we already do this type of calculation in our mind. This way we're codifying it in a number, okay? And assigning that to to add to the qualifier. Okay, so, and the higher you go, the difference the factor will be, because different grades have different expectations as to what they what you should have. So if you're talking about a proof 69, say a modern issue, and it has an obvious mark that usually they don't have, well, it might get a low number. Okay, so when you put in your qualifier, it might be a low end proof 69. Okay, so it varies for whatever grade you're looking at. Average for that grade, above average for that grade. And also we do this factor does allow cleaning. It doesn't allow tooling or whizzing or any kind of problems like that. That is always a problem point. But light cleaning shouldn't be stamped as a problem child. Many early proof coins have hairlines. That's cleaning. Many Morgan dollars have been dipped. That's cleaning. So these are not coins that should be thrown in the garbage because they have a cleaning or low end. But they do get low marks. Okay. And when we talk about the die factor, this is something new. This is a die state. And a lot of us know about die states. The grading services don't really use die states in their grading. But except in the fact where you have deep cameo proof likes, or deep cameo proofs and deep mirror proof likes. Those would be very early die states. Coins in the early teens, like Lincolns and the Walking Liberties and all. Some of those have like what we call a matte surface on the early die states, and they're really beautiful. And those are early die states too, and those have positive value connotations with collectors. So it is very important to note the die state of a coin. You have very early die states, that would be deep mirrors and mattes, early die states. And as the die wears, you start to see flow lines that give a cartwheel effect, for Mint State coins at least, and proofs. So that will lower the die state a little bit. And then very late die states and slightly late die states. These are problems where even even in mid-grade coins, it might turn you off from buying a coin. Say Buffalo nickels or Lincoln cents from the mint mark 20s. A lot of those were bad dies that were shipped out from the mother mint, and they come with very, very weak detail sometimes. And I think the grading services grade those sometimes very high grades, and I don't think they should. I think that's a very severe detriment. So those coins, and the worst one, I guess, is the 22 no-D Lincoln cent. That's a very late die state, so, but that's the way it is. When we calculate the severe die wear, say on a Buffalo nickel, it might be mint state when it has no horn. The die is so worn. When it starts to acquire wear, it might fall down to a VF automatically. We've all seen those type of coins. So anyway, that would give it a low die state number. And now the next one is the strike. Now of course, strike is very important. We see it in certain issues where there's a defining factor, like full bell lines, full bands, full head, full horn, full thumb, all these things. But some series don't have those type of full, things like Indian cents don't have it. But a full strike would have full diamonds and full feather tips. And any other series where the strike is a big factor. And this gets away from defining it simply by, say, on a standing Liberty quarter, by a full head, because some of the full heads don't have a full shield, or they don't have a full date, or full letters. And this is again, if they grade that a full head, it's like really not full strike. So that might fall into a 4 category, but a full strike is defined as full strike. Everything is full. There should be no problem. And this would be a very important factor to put into in looking for a coin. Coins that are weakly struck, as opposed to die wear, you might be missing some detail just because it was weakly struck. That lowers the desirability, and especially on the upper grades. So this is another factor that's very, very important in that. Now, when you're looking at a coin using this system, it's pretty easy to add up your factors. Typically, if everything is average, you're going to come up with a 9, 3, 3, and 3, which is an average coin for the grade. And so that is the kind of coin that we would want to, as collectors, put in our collection. We would want to figure the market based on those type of coins. And I think the market would thrive if those kind of coins were identified. It's easy to do it in your head. After a little practice, it's easy to add up 3 numbers and come up with a number between 0 and 15. Anything above a 9, when you add those 2 together, it would be an above average grade or qualifier. Anything below that would be something that has a problem. It might preclude someone from buying it, or it might be a bargain price coin and bargain for a reason. So that's your what's going on in your mind when you're thinking about this. Now, one of the things that is before I get any far, also color. The EAC grades by color. I don't think that's. I think it should be a separate, besides the grade between red, brown, and brown, as a percentage of red for red, brown, and that's pretty much accepted is what we do now. I think it should be independent of the actual grade and the qualifier. See, now here's an example. You can use this grading system on an overgraded coin or an undergraded coin or an average or properly graded coin, and the factors will change given whether it's overgraded or undergraded. Now this is a nice coin. I graded AU58 in the Sheldon grading scale, and the true grade using the PDS system is a gem AU. Okay, and I gave it a qualifier of 13 based on above average strike, not fully strike, but above average strike, above average die state, and really nice, good strike. There's no real weakness. But you can see a little the die is not perfectly new. There's some die wear down here, so it's not a 15 or anything like that. But you do this calculation in your head, and you say, well, it's a gem 13, a gem AU 13 as far as your verbiage goes, and that's really nice coin. I bet anyone would like that in their collection for an AU, of course. Now, many times we see coins like this get graded mint state, and mint state 63 or 2 or something like that. So that would be a slightly overgraded coin, but still, if you wanted to agree with what the grading service called it, if they called it that, you could call it a typical UNC, but you give it a 9 because it's an average coin. It's probably a lot of people would say, well, you know, Rick, I think you're being a little tough on that coin. It looks like an UNC to me. But so for those people, if they want to call it a typical UNC, they use a qualifier, but not a very high one, okay, an average one. The Planchet and die numbers would drop, okay, because it's got it's got wear, a little bit of wear. So your Planchet factor is going to be lower, and the die factor, if you want to squirm and say that it's not really wear, it's on the die, well, okay, so your die factor goes down too. But so if you're calling this a typical UNC, your qualifier is lower. Now, I've seen coins like this in mint state 65 holders. So if it did do that, it'd be very overgraded, and the qualifier would go down a little farther. The die and strike would not change too much, but the Planchet factor would go down because there's wear on it and there's a couple little marks. It's really not, for a gem, it's very low end. Okay, so your qualifier would go down the higher you overgraded it.
Rick, just a quick question on that. You had 223 for the slightly overgraded, which actually adds up to 7, right? And
Okay.
then you have 143 on the bottom, which does add up to 8. So I'm trying to figure out.
That's an error.
Okay, so should the
Thank you for
second
catching
one
that.
be 243?
Yeah, this would be this should be a 4. That wouldn't change. The die state wouldn't change. So that would be a 4, and then you'd have it add up to 9. So thank you for catching that.
Okay, I was just trying to.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I didn't want to point it out. But
Okay. Sorry about that.
So the advantages of this, it could be used for anything. Ancient, medieval hammered coins, steam press coins, modern coins. You can use this for any type of coin. It curbs overgrading abuse. I'm not going to claim that it eliminates it, because there will always be abuse. But if you use this, say in auction catalogs, honestly and accurately, then people can gauge the value, the prices realized against you know, what the cataloger felt was the PDS grade. Similar to what they do with EAC coins in prominent large cent collections. You know, they have a different grade. Well, we could, if this was used by catalogers, I think it would be a great help to understanding the values and the prices realized. It reflects a market, and I would say that if you want to put together a price guide based on auction records, or if you want to know what the proper market is for a coin, you only use 9s or better to get that data. If the system is thinly used, of course, it's very difficult to do that. But if you are collecting data and that this data point is there, I think it would be a great help to that. Now, this is kind of interesting in that it's not a linear grading system. The 70-point grading system, the Sheldon scale, has a, because it's numbers, it has a aura or a feeling of preciseness, and it's not precise at all. And people think that an AU, a Mint State 61 is better than an AU 58, which in practice is not, because Mint State 61 is a bottom of the barrel Mint State coin, and AU 58 is a gem AU. And this addresses that. And by using a system like this, you can easily tell your dealer, supplier, or whatever, what type of coin you want. I want coins with 5 strikes, you know, a five strike. So, you know, even if it's an AU, you can have a fully struck coin, and it would be better than the same grade with a lower strike factor. And so, in that respect, you have you can translate that more to determining a good value for the coin and determining what you actually want for your collection. And it doesn't conflict with the certified grade because the certified grades are using the 70-point grading system. And what I'm suggesting is that we let them have their 70-point grading system. And if we use the ANA grading standards as a alternate system to grade the certified holder, it's less confusing because we're not using the same numbers. Okay, we're using gem AU instead of AU 58, and you're not labeling the coins as bad in any way. Now, an overgraded coin could be assigned a grade that everyone should agree with, but it's not overgraded except when you assign it to the 70-point grading scale. Okay, and so if you're looking to fill a set of AU gem AU coins, a barber halves, well, many of those are going to be in Mint State 61 holders. So you can identify those coins. Well, that's what I want for my collection. It's in a 61 holder, but it's an AU 58. I'll put it in there. A gem AU. Okay, so it can be used alongside with less confusion. The grade could be assigned by anyone. Okay, this is not something that you're going to submit a coin to get a certified sticker that says such and such, unless you want to, unless someone wants to do that. But you can assign it yourself if you like, and use that to not conflict with what the dealer is selling you as a potentially overgraded coin. And it makes it easier for you to qualify that with your friends and to discuss a coin honestly using the ANA grading standard. Also, now on eBay, you can't list a coin that's not certified with using the 70-point grading scale. And using this system, you can. And if everybody understands the system, then you can easily translate your uncertified coin on eBay using their rigid rules. So let me open this up to questions, and hopefully I can answer your, yes?
Hey Rick, Curly Cap, aren't they doing that? They're looking at coins that were your scale are 9 points or better to put their sticker on. Aren't they looking, and they also give a very good price increase, a bump up if you have a cap sticker on a slot play.
Yes, the problem is, and I've been doing that too, so I understand the concept, and it's a good concept. However, you don't know what coin has not been sent in. You may not know if a coin has been sent in. So it's only when it's stickered that you know that it's been accepted. Also, the problem that anybody, any entity, myself, John Albanese, has with trying to maintain a market in these coins is exposure, okay? If there's a large percentage of overgraded coins out there trading for half of the amount of money that you're willing to buy a correctly graded coin, you may not find any buyers. So you might be supporting a market and nobody's following you. Okay, I've had that happen with Indian cents. It's gotten to the point where I had a bid for $15,000 for a 1873 closed 3 and 5 red, and one sells for $7,000. Another one sells for $8,000 because they had a spot. Well, if I buy one for $15,000, where do I go with it? Nobody's going to want to pay a little bit over that when they see them selling for a lot less. So I know John Albanese has that same problem because he's doing everything, okay? And no matter how well you're capitalized, you can't expose yourself to having coins coming at you to purchase that you don't have anywhere to go with. Okay, so what happens is you lower your bid. Okay, and when you lower your bid, you're lowering the market. And it's the result. The entire market is again being judged by the overgraded coins. Okay, it's a force that is pretty hard to deal with. So anyway, that's why I say the market is geared towards dropping. Okay, it's no matter how enthusiastic we are, the overgraded coins are not going to sell for the proper money, and they're going to drive the market down. So we can support it with our bids. It's the only alternative, but it's a weak system. So, any other question? Yeah.
I know the grading services talk about eye appeal as being something as it relates to toning on silver coins or different types of coins that affect the grade they apply to a particular coin. How does your system? I don't see how really your system factors in if you had a really attractive toned coin, naturally toned coin.
Well,
How does that factor in?
I don't think that should be part of the grade. It's more of a, like you say, eye appeal. It's more of a beauty
It
contest.
affects the price that coin will
Oh yeah,
sell for.
oh yeah, sure.
Significant.
Right. You can't really. I don't think we should quantify that because it's in the eye of the beholder, And there it's like, I mean, we're not looking for a rigid structure here. We're looking for something that has a little bit of leeway in interpretation. That's why on the, say on strike, I say above average, below average. But for eye appeal, a lot of that might be translated into some of the things here, like a deep air proof light, or cameos and things like that. But with toning, you can't really quantify that. So it's basically, I like it. Here's my price.
Right. Okay. Right.
So anyway, you can take this too far.
I like what you're saying. My question is how is this communicated? Because, like, let's say I have my little system maintaining it your way, and you have your system. Let's say you give it a 9 and I give it 11, right? If I was to sell that coin, or you were to sell that coin, or you were to sell the coin to me, is it going to be like what you did with the stickering, or CAC's going to come out with a CAC 9 or CAC 3323?
Well, I want to put.
Would you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
He's.
My question is how is this going to be communicated to the public?
Okay.
As opposed to keeping it subjectively?
How to communicate it. This is something that, like as a coin seller, okay, I would put it in my description, along with the grade and all that. For a catalog or in a auction catalog, they would do the same thing. For two friends talking about a coin that on a horse floor, they can discuss it in those terms as well, even if the dealer doesn't want to, label it as such. Nobody likes to identify overgraded coins. They do it though by their price. Okay, if a coin looks too cheap, it's probably overgraded. So, and so as far as putting another label on a slab, I would say this is more for the people, okay, not for any stickering company to do. Now I do my own stickers, Eagle Eye Photo Seal, and I have thought of putting the PDS grade in the database, so when people do a search, they can see what my opinion is of the thing. But I wouldn't do it for the coins that are overgraded, because I don't want to label the overgraded coins. We want to be positive and only label the ones that are meet our expectations. Okay. So, any other questions?
Rick, on the D for the die, there's some of those weirdos like to collect late die states.
Well, that's fine. See, you can call up your dealer and say, I want a factor of 5, but you can just say, I mean, there's all kinds of neat die crafts and things like that.
So your distinction is on the P for the Planchet is what's happened strictly after the coin is left them in, whether someone's messed with it or dropped it or tagged it or whatever that is. And then D is what happened.
That's the state of the die as it was struck.
So
Now,
those will keep that straight, that's as made.
Yeah, it's not always a negative because of cracked dies and
Well, weirdos like us.
Weirdos, yeah, me too. So but it is a negative when you have dies that are so severely worn that it you can't see much of the detail anymore.
Well, and I think it goes back to your contention, like 22 millimeter Lincoln. Right? How hard is it to find one that looks really nice?
Well, they don't.
Right.
Yeah. So, so it's more important on the upper end.
We can take one more question.
Okay, one more question.
So for instance, the coin dealer newsletter, the gray sheet, whatever, and I don't know exactly how they come up with what formulas they use to come up with the pricing in their market, but in terms of what they put out. But if they were to use your system, then presumably, if you're saying they would do 9s and above, for prices. They wouldn't pick coins that they wouldn't include in their calculation.
Right.
for
If they have that
pricing.
data, they can, the low-end ones that are
Would not
overgraded.
be
Right.
considered in
Now,
the-
I'm a dealer, I'm on CCE, and
Right.
I put bids out. And the Coin Dealer newsletter records those bids. Okay, now if I put a caveat along with my bids saying I'm only taking photo seal coins, which people assume that that's all I'm bidding on. And John Albanese, when he puts bids for CAC coins, those should be respected as the true market for properly graded coin.
Right.
Okay. Now you could also, any other dealer out there can put bids for properly graded coins, and you could put a message saying, listen, I only want 9s and better,
Right.
qualifiers, and be offered only those type of coins. And then you could have your bids higher, and you can actually compete higher, whereas another dealer says, I'll take the low end ones, but my bid isn't that strong. I think that Coin Dealer newsletter would see that and not really use that number. Okay, so as a chance at competitiveness for properly graded coins once again.
Have you talked to them about, or
Who?
CDN?
Yes, they'll be running.
About this.
They'll be running an article. They're one of the only people him and John Albanese are the only people I've talked to before you.
Right.
About this, and they're going to run an article
Okay.
shortly.
Okay.
So, anyway, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for a great new look at coin grading. I think we could all look at that. I would like, on behalf of the association, to present